You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spectral Zone with host Caz Rooney.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Spectral Zone on Parasearch Radio. I'm Caz Rooney, I'm your host, and tonight I'm being joined by Jason Voss from Heartland Paranormal, who are based in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Caz.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
And so with that, with you having such a close tie to autism, I'm sure that you would agree, though, that the similarities are bigger than the differences. They're more than the differences. That the differences are a little more pronounced.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be very, very subtle. I mean, I know lots of people who have been diagnosed autistic. You would never know they've been diagnosed autistic. It's just little things. More often than not, they're just living their lives quite happily, the same as us.
Yes.
But,
and my day job, I actually work for an agency called Region 5 Services, and I work with developmental and physical disabilities, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's so fun because I get to tie into the paranormal stuff into my regular job, because so many of my individuals that I serve on a daily basis are interested in it.
Well,
it's fun.
That's interesting you saying that. A couple of weeks ago we did a show on the Dark Mirror show about indigo children. And apparently they were saying that a high number of people who are classed as indigo children do actually have ADHD, ADD, or are on the autism spectrum. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Those stuff like that actually really interests me. I love reading about that.
Yeah.
But I really have no conclusive opinion on those.
Yeah. It's one of those ones, isn't it? It's difficult.
It is. It's difficult to come to a conclusion on stuff like that. But I don't know. I really can't give you a solid opinion on that one, though. When it comes to disabilities and different parts of society, I don't know how it is over there in the UK. But here in the US, I honestly feel that there's so much misdiagnosis here in the States, and a lot of that is to the public school system. But it is really funny because it's I guess I'm gonna go back to my original statement where I get to include a lot of my individuals. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of backtracking here, but
no, you're fine.
It's fun because it lets them get out into the community. We have little spots around here. We talked about that last time around Lincoln that are paranormal. A lot of these people with disabilities get to go out and end up feeling like they're doing paranormal ain't normal, but something normal in the community, like where they don't get to do something like that every day, you know. But as far as I've been reading on like mental disabilities and whatnot that tie into like in people with mental disabilities, are they more in tune to the paranormal and stuff, or stuff like that? I don't know. I can't come up with a conclusive opinion on that.
It's one of those ones that's quite... I can't speak for others that I know who maybe have disabilities. I can only really comment on my son, obviously. But he's been sensitive since he was a child. He saw spirits right up until he was about 8 years old. It's kind of tailed off a little bit, but he's still kind of aware of the energy change. But I would by no means call him an indigo child. I would call him a sensitive, but I wouldn't call him an indigo child. But he was aware when he was young. He was very aware when he was young.
Well, that goes into, though, also, I do believe that, you know, there's three, I suppose, not people, because one of them is pets, you know, animals are attuned to the other side. But then you get the other two is children, and then people, either elderly people or people with terminal illnesses. And that theory is that children and people towards the end are closer to that, to the other side, to that veil.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose when you say, like, you know, it started lightening up when he was 8 years old, it could be just that, you know, that child sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't want to take that away from you either, or away from him.
No.
I think some people just hold on to that sixth sense a little bit as they grow older, you know? It's holding on to maybe you call it just a little bit of innocence.
Yeah.
And that's why some people are empathic, some people are a little more sensitive, and they just hold on to that from their childhood and then just never let it go.
My kind of opinion on that with the children, coming from the children's side of it, the way I kind of look at it is, when a child is born, they're completely innocent. They don't know anything. They don't know any different. Right. So when they're young, it makes perfect sense that they would be more open to spirit and be more aware of spirit, because society hasn't had a chance to mould them into, this is the way society will work, and you should believe this, or you should do that, or you should think this or think that. They haven't got any of that, because the children... their mind. But when they start getting older, they kind of start conforming to how society works and maybe lose it a little bit. Some of them don't, some of them do.
I agree. Like, you know, I say the word corrupt. That's a very negative connotation to it. But, yeah, I mean, as you grow older, you're kind of forced into conformity. And I agree. You know, it's kind of like, you know, children are not born, you know, with prejudice. They're taught different prejudice throughout their life, you know? Yeah. And so, you know, it's depending on, you know, whether it's the nature versus nurture argument, you grow up learning from the people that are around, whether it's in the home or out in the society, and then you start forming opinions and ideas of, you know, Jody just has one of those personalities that, you know, when you're around her, you feel welcome.
She's very friendly, isn't she? Oh, she's really friendly.
I think when we got married, she kind of got the short end of the stick.
I do remember seeing pictures of Presley, though. I'm sure there's pictures of Presley on the day. I'm sure I saw pictures of him. Yeah,
she was Presley was a hit, and like I said, Jody is just one of those people that when you're around her, you just feel like you're at home. She's just a wonderful soul. I love her so much.
Oh, what about the kids that came along? What did they think about all the paranormal stuff? Really?
Well, I'll tell you what, with the kids, I'm starting to integrate that into Heartland. I love doing this. I've done now a Girl Scout group. We did at Waiuka Cemetery last winter, where I took them through the cemetery, and we had to go through a lot of red tape for that. But we got, working with the administration at the cemetery and stuff, they finally let us in, and a lot of it was because they have electronic gates. They close at a certain time. They had to contact LPD and everything, our local police department, to let them know that we were going to be in there roaming around with flashlights. But we went in, and I got to do an educational thing for this Girl Scout group, and they just loved it. And then just recently I did a birthday party for an attorney at the Attorney General's office. Her boy was turning 10. And I did a birthday party for him and his friends at Lake Street Lake here in Lincoln. And they just went nuts over this. And so at the event, it was fun because, the kids were coming over to Buried Alive's booth and my booth and stuff. And we were kind of like, we're right next to each other. So it was really fun.
Yeah.
And the kids, it's neat, you can kind of turn it into educational. You get to hand over the K2 meters and stuff and just go along with as their questions pop up. And you get to show them that it's not scary. This is a fun deal, and there's not really nothing to be scared about. And they just flood you with questions, and there's smiles on their faces, and I love that. And so I'm trying to integrate that more into Heartland, is doing educational stuff with the kids and, taking them to these different locations and whatnot and making it so it's not scary. When you watch the television, when you watch Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring him up, but everything with him is a demon,
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
All that's going to serve is to scare, people. Yeah. They're not going to want to go to these locations and stuff. And so I'm not discounting that there's malevolent stuff out there and that you shouldn't be, careful, and you shouldn't be smart about when you go out and do stuff. But, there's also the fact that you can go out and have fun with this, be respectful with it, be educated about what you do. And, if a kid is interested in this, don't just take it lightly. Educate them and start them young.
Yeah.
And so I love doing that. And it was kind of funny because Friday I ran into one of the vendors at a pizza joint. I had taken my clients out to eat, and we were leaving. They were coming in, and her son ran up and gave me a big hug.
Oh.
Sister says, "You're not supposed to hug strangers." And he goes, "But that's the ghost guy." And sister comes up and says, she just starts introducing herself. Well, okay, we're not strangers no more. And so it's so cute. He just remembers me as the ghost guy. So it's just fun, I think kids should be educated on it and, not be afraid.
Well, that brings up an interesting point then. Do you feel as investigators we have... I know how I would respond to this, but do we have a responsibility to up-and-coming investigators and people who are just starting on this path to educate them and to help them go forward?
I absolutely do. And I strongly believe that there is no expert in this field.
Oh, no, there isn't.
Yeah, and if I have my friend Will that I talk to quite often, that's head of... the founder of C&H Paranormal, we say, you learn from everybody, and you learn from those people that say they're experts in the field, because as soon as you hear them say that, then you learn what not to do,
Yeah.
But if there's people just starting out in this field, and they want to learn, absolutely, you take them out, you take them under your wing and answer their questions and stuff. Don't just override and just start teaching them how to do it. Let them ask as many questions as they can, and you help guide them so they can go out and do it in a manner that is individual to them. You don't have to absolutely have it do it your way.
No.
Like another team does it, because you want them to blossom as an individual and do it how they should do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm very grateful when I started out, how certain teams guided me.
Yeah.
And I was able to become who I am individually.
I would have to say my family aren't really into the paranormal at all. So, I mean, when I started out, I seemed to come across people on the way and I learned things from them. And I'm really glad that I came across these people, and it taught me all sorts of different things. But I think without them, I wouldn't have been in this field. I wouldn't have had the confidence enough to be in this field.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I told you last time we talked that I had, I was always a creepy kid reading, stuff from the horror genre, both fiction and nonfiction and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I've educated myself on this my whole life. I always read stuff, from books to periodicals to stuff, just anything to get my hands on.
Yeah.
But my mom, I call her, kind of a skeptic believer. She kind of believes in it. She'll tell you she don't believe in it, but she's scared witless out of, when you're talking about it, she actually literally, like, you can see her physically shiver. My dad likes the movies. He'll watch scary movies and stuff. He'll talk to me about it.
Yeah.
But he supports me in it. But when I ask him, I say, hey, do you want to go to this house with me? Oh, no. I'm fine, So I have the support. I just, it's funny, like, there's not a lot of backing on it because I think they both get kind of creeped out when it's the actual real stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, Jody's terrified of doing it, especially at night. She'll go to locations in the day. And so I am like you. I rely on people in the paranormal community. So when I go to these locations and stuff, or when I'm doing things, I'll never stop learning. And so I do rely on the people in the community as I go to continue learning from them. And as new stuff pops up, your ears always got to be open and just rely on the community, because you're going to learn what to do, what not to do, and how to, like I said before, blossom into your individual self. And
oh yeah, I would completely agree with that. My daughter Melody is 18, but she comes and investigates with Entity, and she has done since she was 16 years old. But she has said to me before, there's so many people she's met in such different ways of doing things, and she finds it really, really interesting, where she's now at a point that she would happily go off on her own and do maybe an EVP session or something like that, because she's building up that confidence being around other people in the community.
That's neat, though. And you say she started when she was 16?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. She does enjoy it. The very first time I went to 30 East Drive, Melody was there. Melody was 17, just turned 17 years old, and she was there at 30 East Drive. And she absolutely loved it. Her and another investigator's daughter went off and done their own EVP sessions and whatever, but they had that confidence because there was other people there with more knowledge than them. So they've gained from us. So I think really the position we're in, like you said, the children coming to you and asking questions and whatever, then we're definitely in a position where we need to be responsible enough to help them.
Absolutely. And I think it's the para-unity. It's a unity just between other people. They, do we want to forward our own groups? Yes, but I think to forward our own groups, it's creating that pathway to help other groups forward as well. And I think that's what builds your group and your reputation.
Yeah.
By having the patience to help others as well. So, and I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of frustrations in this field.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. When you run into other groups that are in it for personal gain, you know, and there's you know, whether they want the recognition, whether they want financial gain or whatever, which that one really frustrates me. You know, I never charge for any private investigations or any of that, but you know, there are groups that do it strictly for themselves, you know, and I think it's frustrating.
It can be. I think the best thing with that is I would kind of look at it as, I mean, personally, I don't charge for private investigations or anything like that. I never would. The same way, if I'm doing a location, what people pay to go to that location, I pay that too. I keep it fair so that I'm paying too. It's not just them. We're all paying the same amount of money. But the way I would look at it, the way I tend to look at it now is we're all coming from different perspectives. So just go on, do your thing, and be happy with that. Just keep going along on your own journey. That's the way I look at it.
And you know what? That's you said the operative word that I like. All the different viewpoints that come into it.
Yeah.
And you have to respect that. And I pride Heartland and my team on being accepting of every viewpoint that comes into this field. And there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And as long as you can present your viewpoint in a respectful manner, we're all going to get along.
Yeah.
Don't dog on another person because of their viewpoint. You don't have to agree with them. Just let them state what their viewpoint is, you know, and have a discussion and a debate without belittling or arguing or being disrespectful. So that's my thing, and that's the operative thing, is that there's going to be a lot of difference. And different aspects in this field. So what is the plan going forward for Heartland Paranormal? What have you got planned? We actually, we're kind of starting to take a different direction. Like, I think I shouldn't even say different direction. We're starting to just expand a little more. We're still got the same direction, but you know, we still want to do some of the bigger name locations. This year, we weren't planning on doing any big locations this year at all. And then I looked on the Villisca Axe Murder House website, and Sunday, the day before my birthday, they had open.
Oh.
And so I'm like, I'm going to give myself a birthday gift. And so I'm really, really excited about that, because it's like probably going to be the only big location that we do this year. So we're doing the overnight on October 14th into the 15th. And so we're doing that, but I've got a couple speaking engagements coming up in Iowa this year, which I'm excited about. But I think we've expanded to the point where, you know, I'm doing a lot more residential and private investigations. I'm getting a lot of calls on stuff like that, but a lot more of it is becoming more like consultation type stuff. I don't actually I get prepared to go to the locations of these people.
Yeah.
And then they kind of hem and haw, because they're like, well, we want to know what we have, and then we kind of really don't want to know, because then they get scared, they get nervous, you know. And I just finished up with a big one just this week that had a lot of drama, a lot of different things, but it ended up turning into a big blessing with a lot of unity backed by the community. So it's a lot of the private stuff is really booming right now, which is probably good because I can't do the big name ones. But like I told you before, a lot of what we're doing is branching out to education, not only with the kids, but with other people as well. I've been taking groups out to different locations here in Lincoln And then kind of what you were saying when you've gone out.
Yeah.
I take them to locations actually that aren't you don't have to pay for. There's no fees, whatever. So like we have a number of different parks and stuff that have haunted history to them. And I take basic equipment like divining rods. I take my K2 meter and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And I take groups out there and I give them the history of the place. I don't charge them nothing for it.
Yeah.
Give them the history of the place, kind of give them a rundown of, where the activity is supposed to be and everything. And then I kind of turn them loose. And then I just kind of stay at the helm and say, hey, if anybody has any questions, I'm right here. And I don't really put any time limit on it. As long as anybody wants to stay, then I'm there. And so that's become kind of a fun deal.
Yeah.
People are really digging on stuff like that. And so Jody and I have actually talked about turning that into doing like haunted history tours of Lincoln.
That'd be really cool.
It would be. And I think people would really enjoy that because there's a lot of people who don't really want to be investigators. They just want history, You live in this town and people are really interested in the history and stuff. And so we're kind of tossing that idea around of kind of expanding Heartland's name and kind of doing that. So
I think it'd be so cool if you did that. I think that would be really good.
I think it would be a fun deal, just for the public and for Heartland.
Mm-hmm.
I think also we have a number of different locations just in and around Lincoln and Omaha and stuff that we plan on going back to do like small investigations and whatnot. So, we're going to Hawaii here in about a week for a 2-week stint, and so we're tied up, and so we're not able to do anything really big at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, from the way you speak about it, Jason, you're kind of in the same kind of situation. Round about me, there's lots of little places I can just take off to investigate. We've got churches, we've got graveyards, we've got there's one that's called the Doctor's House, which is about 5 miles from where I live. That house has been standing empty for 20 years. He literally walked out of the house. He had 5 cars in the garage. He walked out the house, left the cars, everything, just walked out.
Oh my goodness.
And the house is still the same.
Oh. Okay, I'm buying my plane ticket and coming out just to see that. I want to see that house.
But I mean, I've need to ask you about this because I've heard it mentioned so many times over in the USA. There's ghost towns. Is there actually ghost towns?
Yes, there are ghost towns, and a lot of them. It's kind of weird, like. A lot of them turn into like kind of tourist traps. Yeah. Because they started marketing the ghost towns. There's a couple down in Kansas where you can go and they're not essentially like a ghost town. It's just a bunch of dilapidated buildings that honestly, even if you like abandoned buildings, barns, houses, whatever, you wouldn't want to go into these because they're so dilapidated that even if you're an adventurer, you would be going, well, that's going to collapse if I walk into it. You don't even really want a stiff breeze blowing on it. And some of them are only comprised up of maybe like 3 or 4 buildings. Mm-hmm. So like the actual like abandoned ghost towns aren't much at all to look at. Some of them that are actually like towns and stuff have been marketed out and you have to pay fees to get in and it's a tourist type thing. Mm-hmm. It depends. It's a hit and miss, basically. You really have to do your research to find one. So yes, there are ghost towns. It just depends on what you're going to find. And I haven't really looked into going to any of those just because of that.
Yeah, I can understand that now.
But I'm a sucker for just abandoned buildings. I just because the building is old and dilapidated and abandoned doesn't mean that it's haunted.
Yeah.
When you're driving down the road and you see this old creepy looking building, there's just something in my brain that's like, oh, I want to stop. I want to go in, And Jody's kind of like that too. She loves the history of things. She just loves the beauty of an old abandoned house. And for some reason, her brain just pictures that in its glory day when it looked beautiful and new and everything. And
really,
so we're very attracted to like these old abandoned places.
So you've got a bit of an adventurous spirit then. When it comes to investigating, you would just be quite happy doing that.
Yes, we Jody and I both have very adventurous spirits. We last year in October for our 1 year anniversary, we went to South Dakota, and I did like 5 different locations there. A couple of them were just surprised because like we were eating dinner in the Bodega Bar and Saloon, and the waitress just started talking to us, and then we ended up going down to the cellar and got to investigate that whole saloon.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and apparently, like when the manager took us down into the cellar, he took 2 of the waitresses down, and they were just going nuts because they were saying, only the owner and that manager are the only ones that were ever allowed in that cellar. And so for the 2 waitresses to go down there, they were just ecstatic to like have access. So
wow.
It's kind of fun doing this. And then I'll put out one of my business cards, tell them what we're about, and say, will we be able to kind of look around, do this, take pictures? Sometimes we get told no. Sometimes we get like VIP access. It's kind of fun. But now we have Presley, and we take her on our little adventures. But what's really kind of funny about that is Presley's a scaredy cat. She is afraid of everything. So we actually have more fun watching her just kind of be like, well, she's kind of like Scooby-Doo. So, yeah, she's adventurous, but then once we get there, then she's just like, she'll either hide behind me or Jody, and, we're stepping on her and whatnot, but we are very...
on things?
I don't know. I'm anxious to get her to an actual haunted location to see if she will pick up on things. I don't want to traumatize the poor thing.
That's true. That's true.
But I do want to take her to one.
That is interesting though, because I've heard of a few paranormal teams that have been taking along the dogs and things to locations with them to see how the pets react. I think that's quite interesting.
I think it would be fascinating to do that with her. I think it would be fascinating. I'm kind of getting a stink eye from Jody right now because I don't think she approves of that idea.
Not haunting my baby.
But I think it would be a fun theory to test.
Well, I can't test it personally. I have 2 cats. So I'm not taking cats in a location.
Oh gosh, they would get away so easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And see, Heartland, we pride ourselves on not using a great deal of equipment.
I remember you saying this before. You did say this before. You don't use a lot of equipment, do you?
No, and I'm planning on buying a couple pieces here soon. I do want to have a little bit of equipment, just to run an experiment here and there. But I don't want to invest in like thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment because I don't plan on using it over and over and over again, like exceptionally a lot. But we pride ourselves because, if you really look, and when people have genuine experiences,
Yeah.
It's usually when they're not even investigating. It's usually when they're just kind of going about their daily lives, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, and they're really tripped out.
When they
And
least
so,
expect it.
right. And so when we actually go into one of these big name locations and stuff, Charlie and I we're just kind of hanging out. We don't do our EVPs like a lot of other people. It's kind of like these flash EVPs where we will set up several different digital voice recorders in different parts of the building or house or whatever we're in. And we'll have, if there's 3 floors, we got 3 of them going, 1 on each floor.
Yeah.
And we'll timestamp them. If we're walking into that room, you just announce, Jason entering the principal's office or entering the bedroom or cellar or whatever at 10:05 p.m. And then when you're leaving, then you timestamp it again. And it makes a lot of review when you get home, because if you're in that house for 20 hours, then a lot of that is listening to just 20 hours of dead air. But
yeah, that's true.
We do that. That's how we do our EVPs.
Well, what piece of equipment have you not got that you would really like to have?
I'm planning on getting a REM pod before we go to Villisca.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be fascinating to have that in Villisca, because I hear a lot of people talk about what they find with their K2s.
Mm-hmm.
And although I rely a lot on the K2, I think you just get way too many false positives with the K2.
Yeah.
Even, when it's hard not to have your cell phone out. You want to take pictures, video, whatever. And so, you can have somebody a little bit of ways away from you running their cell phone, but you could be picking up off that cell phone for the K2.
Yeah, yeah.
But like if you have the REM pod, you can set that in the center of the room away from everything. You can step back and make sure that you're not running a cell phone from it or whatever. I think it just eliminates some of that false positives. So, as far as other equipment, I haven't really decided what I want to get. There is an experiment that I want to try with the walkie-talkies.
Okay.
And I already have those, but when we're at Villisca, I'm going to try this several different places in the house and whatnot, where you just leave the walkie-talkie on in one part of the house. So, like, if we put it up in the attic, where the killer was supposedly hid before he came out and murdered the family, leave it in the attic with the button depressed, and then go into another part of the house, and you just listen. It's kind of like doing an EVP without recording it, but see if you pick up on anything. And so,
that's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah, and it draws off that energy theory, because you're using electronics with batteries in it and stuff. So if something picks up on that, it's drawing energy from that walkie-talkie. And then if you hear noises, whatever, I'm anxious to try that out. And we'll probably leave it in several different parts of the house and then go a completely different part of the house to listen. And so that'll be fun to experiment with that. But
the thing is, you get some locations you go in. Obviously, you've said, Jason, you don't use an awful lot of equipment, but you do get locations you go into and your equipment's just completely drained.
That happens to us quite often.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know many locations where we haven't gone through, an ungodly amount of batteries where, we're just changing them constantly. And that's why I believe in the drainage theory, the energy drainage theory. Because when I have 3 different laser grid pens that I use.
Yeah.
Now 2, because Presley busted one of mine, but the 2 of them, I can set them up in my shop, and off of 2 AA batteries in the laser grid pen.
Yeah.
That laser grid can go on for several hours.
Yeah.
on fresh AAA batteries on that.
Yeah.
But if I'm on location, and this has happened at the Sally House, this has happened at Ferrara, and just all these different locations where I put it in the tripod, fresh batteries in it, pop it in, and that I can literally walk into, this happened at Alex Johnson actually, you walk into another room or you walk out into the hallway and you have the camera going, and then boom, the laser just dies and the batteries are no good within anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've had that happen before.
Yeah, I should be getting several hours worth of grid off of that, but I mean, it just sucks it dry. And I've had that happen with my cameras, video cameras, where I go in full charge, the battery bar is full, and within about 5 minutes of doing a video tour of the house, doing that initial walkthrough, between about 5 and 15 minutes, that battery is just completely, the camera will shut off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do believe in that energy drainage theory. Staunch believer in that because it happens almost everywhere we go.
Well, we do say to them, use our energy, so I suppose it's our own fault, really, because we're actually physically encouraging them to take energy from us. So that can be from us or our equipment or whatever. But we do encourage them to do that.
Well, yeah. And, we are in their dwellings. We're in their house and stuff. So, you really can't get upset. Because I guess, I look at it this way. Going into the Velisca house. And I've told you before, I'm not one for provoking and instigating and all that. But you go into the Velisca house.
Yeah.
I say this because you said the word encouraging.
Yeah.
I'm looking for scientific reasons and stuff, why stuff happens in that house. If I get evidence, I'm going to be elated. I'm just like any other, investigator that if I get a picture of something, I get video or audio of something, I'm going to be just absolutely happy as a puppy with two fingers on that. But it's a respect thing where, they may be on the other side, but it's their home. That's where, they're stuck, but it was their home originally, and now they're there. That's their home. I need to respect them and their property and all that stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe being corny and cliche or whatever, but I still believe that.
I don't think that's corny at all. I think it's a given. I mean, you wouldn't walk into a stranger's home and start throwing your weight around, would you?
No, and that's
that's
exactly how I look at it.
So location is no different. It's a stranger's home. You're not going to walk in there and start throwing your weight about, or start yelling that you want them to answer you. Whatever. If someone came up and yelled at you, you're not going to answer them, are you? You're going to walk away.
Well, and then you start doing stuff, so they will leave.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's not the kind of activity I'm really wanting to get, but.
I guess it shows how much you do it.
Right. And so, I just, we're encouraging the activity. It's the activity. What kind of activity are you got to know what activity you're kind of encouraging, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so going into that, I'm when I go into a big name location like that, one of the kind of, I don't know what you call those, tourist locations, whatever.
Yeah.
I absolutely, yes, I'm not going to lie. I do want to see something. I've never seen a full body apparition. I've never really seen a shadow person, any kind of, manifestation.
Yeah.
I do want to see one. But, I've had physical interaction. We've caught audio. We've got evidence and stuff. And it's exhilarating and stuff. But I don't want to elicit the negative kind of stuff. I don't want to piss them off.
No, and I mean, when you go into locations, and I mean, obviously, as you say, you want to see some activity, you want to get a response. But for me, even when you get response, you've got to keep testing that response to make sure that it is actual activity, or look for every other kind of explanations. If I get taps and bangs somewhere, I've got to go around the whole place looking to see where else that could have came from. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's what we do, I mean, and we're there to, and like I said, I don't like debunk, but I haven't found a better word. We're there to find those explanations,
Yeah.
And I comb through stuff, other people's evidence. And so if there's like a whole lot of reports of the same thing in that one room, that's where we're going to spend a lot of time, and if we experience that, then we want to explain why that's happening repeatedly to a lot of people, because to me, that doesn't say that there's activity. There's something saying that there's something logical happening there, and there's antecedents leading up to what's happening there. So I'm going to figure out, and I know other investigators don't appreciate this. They want to believe that it's activity. So if I expose that as something logical, I've been called names that include explicitives, but like that's what I want to do. I've told friends before, I didn't come here to play the game. I came here to change the game. So I want to separate, fiction from reality. I want to have I don't want to go in and say, well, this is what I believe. If that I believe, I want to test the theories of what created that belief and get concrete, solid evidence behind it. So
yeah. So what do we think? Do we think there's any chance we're going to get Jodie? You're going to manage to get Jodie to go on a nighttime investigation with you at some point?
I don't know. She's done 2 of them, and she's got through the second one, and so one of our new members really wants her to go on another one. So I'm hoping she'll go on another one. She's so doggone afraid. I don't know. I can't answer that. It's got to be all completely on her own volition. So
yeah, that's true. So from the event, you've made lots of, I assume, new friends and new members who are following the work you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've made a lot of new friends after that event. And then with this house out in Union, Nebraska that I've been following, the Big Blue House, we call it, the owner calls it the tiny house, 7,000 square feet.
Wow.
A lot of members from that, he's restoring that. And then I just had a private case this week that was exposed to the community, not by me, but by another person. And I ended up getting a lot of new members from that, which I always appreciate the new members, but I'm, like I said, I'm not doing this just for the recognition. I have other reasons that I do this, but the recognition is kind of fun. I'm not going to lie.
I would say, I mean, when you meet new people, if you're doing events and whatever, it's just more people to join you on investigations. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more people you can investigate with.
Absolutely. And I think once I start doing kind of those haunted history tours, people, I can advertise that, and then word will get out, and, my members will tell all their friends and their family and whatnot. And so
that would be so cool. You need to let us know if you do that.
Yes, I will.
As for the kids who came along, you were saying they were asking about tech and things. Maybe you should start like a Heartland Paranormal Juniors group, and you could teach them about investigating.
Oh.
I
like that idea.
Well, if you seemed interested in it, it would be an idea, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Jodie's probably sitting in the background going, no, don't give him any more ideas. I've got enough to do.
I think she went upstairs, but yeah, I like that idea.
Well, believe it or not, Jason, we've been chatting away for an hour.
Oh my goodness.
That went quickly.
It did go very quickly.
But honestly, congratulations on that event. It looked like an absolutely fantastic day.
It really was, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year.
Oh, fantastic.
And I can't thank you enough for putting the idea in my head, and you rock, Caz. You are amazing.
You rock, Jason. Honestly, I love the work that you do. I love following the places you go to and watching your live streams on your group. I love watching that because you seem to involve everybody around you, so it's really cool, actually.
Well, we really try to be interactive.
Yeah.
So.
Best way to be, isn't it?
Yes.
Right, everyone. I just want to remind everybody, you can follow Heartland Paranormal on Facebook. So please go and check out the group because they've done some really cool stuff. And you can catch any of the shows that you miss. You can find at Parasearch Radio. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can catch the shows on YouTube. You can catch them on SoundCloud. You can catch them on Podbean. So you won't miss anything, all of that. Oh, and before we go, we have a brand new competition just up and running today for 2 places to join myself and the Ouija brothers at the Chocolate Factory in Hull on the 27th of October. So we have 2 places available for that. So if you would like to win those 2 places, just go on to Parasearch Radio group page. You will see a post, like it, comment. You can share it out if you want, but please enter the competition. You can come along and join us at the Chocolate Factory. Jason, thank you again so much for coming and chatting to me.
Thank you so much, Caz. And I think you just found a place where Jody will do an overnight investigation, is at the Chocolate Factory.
Do you know what, Jody?
What?
I have really bad news.
What?
There's no chocolate.
Oh, so then I'm sorry.
I was so disappointed. I got there was no Willy Wonka, no Oompa Loompas, no chocolate. I was gutted. It's a really good location. But Jason, and now Jody's there too. If you say good night, everybody, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Caz, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.